Okay, so we are very glad to have Tulsi and Pandava with us, coming or being broadcast to us from Bulgaria. We are not so many participants right now. We hope that more and more will come in the next minutes. And it is not the first time that you are with us. It's, I don't know, the second or third time that you are joining us online, and we will be hearing about Bhagavad-gītā 4:24, if I'm not 4:25.
25.
And we are very glad that you're here. And
thank you.
I can see that more people have joined us, so the crowd is getting bigger slowly.
Hare Krishna Bhakti.
Hare Krishna.
Humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna. So without any further ado, I'll hand over to you. Take it away. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Right, so we are reading from Bhagavad-gītā, 4th chapter, text 25. Daivam evāpare yajñam yoginaḥ paryupāsate. Brahmāgnāv apare yajñam yajñenaivopajuhvati. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some offer sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. Purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. As described above, a person engaged in discharging duties in Krishna consciousness is also called a perfect yogi or a first-class mystic. But there are others also who perform similar sacrifices in the worship of demigods, and still others who sacrifice to the Supreme Brahman, or the impersonal feature of the Supreme Lord. So there are different kinds of sacrifices in terms of different categories. Such different categories of sacrifice by different types of performers only superficially demark varieties of sacrifice. Factually, sacrifice means to satisfy the Supreme Lord, Vishnu, who is also known as Yajña. All the different varieties of sacrifice can be placed within two primary divisions, namely sacrifice of worldly possessions and sacrifice in pursuit of transcendental knowledge. Those who are in Krishna consciousness sacrifice all material possessions for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord, while others who want some temporary material happiness sacrifice their material possessions to satisfy demigods such as Indra, the sun god, etc. And others who are impersonalists sacrifice their identity by merging into the existence of impersonal Brahman. The demigods are powerful living entities appointed by the Supreme Lord for the maintenance and supervision of all material functions like the heating, watering, and lighting of the universe. Those who are interested in material benefits worship the demigods by various sacrifices according to the Vedic rituals. They are called Bhavishvaravadi, or believers in many gods. But others who worship the impersonal feature of the absolute truth and regard the forms of the demigods as temporary, sacrifice their individual selves in the supreme fire, and thus end their individual existence by merging into the existence of the Supreme. Such impersonalists sacrifice their time in philosophical speculation to understand the transcendental nature of the Supreme. In other words, the fruitive workers sacrifice their material possessions for material enjoyment, whereas the impersonalist sacrifices his material designations with the view to merging into the existence of the Supreme. For the impersonalist, the fire altar of sacrifice is the Supreme Brahman, and the offering is the self being consumed by the fire of Brahman. The Krishna conscious person, like Arjuna, however, sacrifices everything for the satisfaction of Krishna, and thus all his material possessions, as well as his own self, everything is sacrificed for Krishna. Thus, he is the first-class yogi, but he does not lose his individual existence. Some yogis perfectly worship the demigods by offering different sacrifices to them, and some other sacrifices in the fire of the Supreme Brahman. Om Gyanati Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, Hare Krishna. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada very often uses one word, and this word is other. So I was thinking that since I'm also right now reading Shri Chaitanya Shikshamrita by Bhaktivedanta Thakur, and somehow this purport and what I'm reading, as usually it goes in Krishna consciousness, these things, they connected very well. So this word other is very interesting. Srila Prabhupada writes here, as described above, a person engaged in discharging duties in Krishna consciousness is also called a perfect yogi or a first-class mystic. So this is the devotee, right? The perfect Uttamadhikari devotee. Person like Srila Prabhupada, like Bhaktivedanta Thakur, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, like Lord Brahma, like Shiva, Vaishnavani Matashambhu. These are the devotees. Yoginamapi sarvasham madgatanantaratmana. Krishna explains that this is the devotee is the highest yogi. So this is basically us. But there are also others. And here in this purport, Srila Prabhupada describes some of those. There are other people who are not devotees. We call them non-devotees or karmis. So what about them? How do we see these different people? Who are they? First of all, we can say that actually in the absolute spiritual sense, there are no others. We are all the same in the sense that we are all spirit souls. We are parts of Krishna. Mama evāmshu jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. Manasa strani indriyani prakriti stani karshati. We are energy of the Lord. Prakritim vidime param yajñam darite jagat. How is this? We are superior energy of the Lord. What was this verse? Apare sitam fanyam prakritim vidime param jiva mutta mahavako. Yajñam darite jagat. So in one sense, there are no others. We are all the same, brothers and sisters. In spiritual sense. And of course, even when you go to Vaikuntha in the spiritual world, there are also, even there are different devotees with different moods. They worship the Lord in different rasas. But they're all devotees. But here in the material world, there are devotees and non-devotees. So in one sense, we are all the same. There are no others. But also, from material perspective, we have different conditioned natures. And there is a natural hierarchy in this conditioning. And this hierarchy is described in Bhagavad-gītā. Krishna explains that there are three gunas. We conditioned by sattva, rajas, and tamas. And sattva is the highest conditioned nature. Tamas is the lowest. And rajas is in between. The sages glorify sattva sattva sanjayate jnana, sattva sukham sanjayate. Sattva guna produces knowledge and happiness. The sages criticize tamas because tamas produces illusion, madness, inertia, laziness, darkness. And the sages are indifferent towards rajas. Of course, they also criticize rajas. So there is natural hierarchy, and we are spiritual souls, but we are conditioned in different ways. Therefore, there is a system of varnashrama established by Krishna himself. And this system, as we know, functions according to the three modes and their combinations. So how do we see these other people? If we read Bhagavad-gītā, Krishna explains that actually everybody is worshipping him ultimately. There is this famous verse, Krishna says, Devata bhaktya bhajante shraddhadanvitaha tepi mam eva kanteya bhajante avidi purvakam. Those who worship the demigods, Krishna says, they actually worship only me, tepi mam eva kanteya, but they do it with improper understanding, avidi purvakam. Also, Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavad-gītā, when he describes the different yoga systems, karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, buddhi yoga, bhakti yoga, Srila Prabhupada explains that actually the original full complete process is called bhakti yoga. And when we overemphasize certain aspect of this full complete process, then we end up with these other yogas. If you overemphasize the karma aspect of bhakti yoga, then and you get stuck there, then you are known as karma yogi. If you overemphasize the jnana aspect and you get stuck there, then you are jnana yogi, etc. But the original process is bhakti. And Srila Prabhupada explains that all these yogas, they are just steps. This is a yoga ladder, and you are supposed to progress from the lowest ring to the Kevala Bhakti, to the topmost perfection. And if you do this, then the end justifies the means. So in this sense, all these other people, they're worshiping the same Supreme Personality of Godhead we are worshiping, but just they are not so conscious about it, they're not so aware, they're not so advanced, but they're progressing towards the same goal, if they're sincere, of course. Srila Prabhupada also, in one commentary from Bhagavad-gītā, he explains that if you don't know that the ultimate goal is bhakti, but if you sacrifice your life for some other cause, then sincerely, then gradually you come to understand that bhakti is the final goal. This is one way of understanding the others. So they're advancing on the same way towards the same goal, but they're not so conscious about it. There are other ways that we can look and try to understand these other people. And this is a less charitable way. I was reading some time ago one Greek historian, very ancient one, Herodotus, I think. So he was telling the story how he went to some very distant place, somewhere in Babylonia or something. And then he saw the main temple there and the main deity of the main god. And then what he thought was, well, this is the Babylonian Zeus. But then, so apparently this was the way the ancient people were viewing the other religious systems. Well, they worship the same God as me, but they worship it in a little different way. But it's the same person. But there is another way to view the others. The Judeo-Christian way is that they don't worship my God. They worship something else. It's a different person. It's not the same God. It is false God, or even worse, it is the enemy of God. And this makes these people also enemies. And they have to be basically destroyed because they're evil. They worship the Satan. So that's another way of seeing others. I want to read something from Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita by Bhaktivedanta Thakur. Quite fascinating. On the same topic. So he says that when we observe different religious systems and different religious rituals, we'll see that there are differences. And then he classifies these differences. There are differences of teachers or prophets. We accept Srila Prabhupada, for example, Lord Chaitanya. Some other people accept Guru Nanak. Some other people accept somebody else. Difference in worshipping mentality, in worshippers' mentality, and consequent expression of reverence. How do you express your devotion to God, basically? Differences in procedures of worship. Difference in conceptions of God. Difference in God's name and statements due to difference in language. So these are superficial differences. And Bhaktivedanta Thakur says, because of these 5 differences, it is only natural that various religions will appear quite different. However, it is improper and detrimental to argue over these differences. If one goes to someone else's place of worship, one should think, these people are worshiping my Lord, but in a different way. Because of my different training, I cannot quite comprehend this system of worship. However, through this experience, I can deepen my appreciation for my own system of worship. The Lord is only one, not 2. I offer respect to the form I see here and pray to the Lord in this new form that He increase my love for the Lord in my accustomed form. This is the proper way a Vaishnava should think and should feel and should contemplate the others, the other religious systems of worship. And Bhaktivedanta Thakur explains, those who do not follow this procedure, but instead criticize other systems of worship and show hatred, violence, and envy are worthless and foolish. The more they indulge in useless quarreling, the more they betray the very goal of their religion. So here we see that not only this different type of worship is not only doesn't lead to envy or hatred, but Bhaktivedanta Thakur explains you can even learn something from this. You can gain some new realizations because this is the same Krishna, but these people don't worship Krishna in the same way because they're not so developed. So this is very nice, but Bhaktivedanta Thakur doesn't stop here. Next paragraph, he says, however, one should consider the following point. Though it is worthless to criticize a difference in religious system, if one sees a fault, one should not tolerate it. It is beneficial for the living entities if one attempts to correct the fault in a proper way. So there are 2 things. There are different superficial differences that one should not criticize because these people, they try to worship the same Supreme Personality of Godhead we worship, but they are not so advanced. So we should not criticize is superficial differences in details. But if there is a fault, then one should point out the fault in a proper way. So what is the difference between fault and detail, superficial detail? What is the difference? Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, the devotee does not accept those religions which are filled with atheism, skepticism, materialism, pantheism, and impersonalism as real religions. He knows them to be false religions, anti-religious movements, perverted religions, and he understands that their followers are unfortunate. The devotees must try to protect the living entities from these false religions. So, here is the Vaishnava approach, the Vaishnava understanding on the others. If these others are sincere worshippers of God, but they are not so developed yet, not so advanced, then they should not be criticized. We have to try to uplift them and help them, but they are not to be criticized. Just like a neophyte devotee, we know the example. If somebody is under the shower and he gets purified by the shower, we don't criticize him because he's under the shower. But if these religious systems, they are opposed to the very nature of bhakti, then it's our duty to point this fault and to correct it in a proper way. Because the very nature, the intrinsic dharma of the soul is to be a lover of Krishna, Krishna prema. And if some religious doctrine opposes this, then this is harmful for everybody. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, we should not quarrel over external differences. If the goal of a religion is pure love, then all else is adjusted. Atheism, skepticism, polytheism, materialism, pantheism, and impersonalism are, by their very nature, contrary to love. So that's why they should be criticized. So we here we see it's something like a Chinta Beda Beda Tattva. Simultaneously, Vaishnava theology is all-inclusive, everybody is welcome, and at the same time, it is very precise. We are only supporting Kevala Bhakti. Just like Bhagavatam starts with, Kaitava Dharma is being thrown out. The cheating religion.
Dharma projito Kaitava utra paramo nirmatsaranam satam.
Yes, this is understandable only by those who are nirmatsara, those who are free of envy. Only they can understand. So at the same time, we are welcoming everybody. We love everybody because we are all parts and parts of Krishna. At the same time, if somebody is against Kevala Bhakti, we're going to come after this person. And this is very much in the mood of our Sampradaya. We see how Srila Prabhupada was uncompromising. He was always fighting against the Mayavadis, against false religionists, against materialists. And at the same time, Srila Prabhupada was very kind and understanding. And whenever he saw even a spark of sincere desire to serve the Lord, he was welcoming all people from all different faiths. And here in this purport, we see the same. We just read the purport. Srila Prabhupada, he says, he writes, so he describes the karmis and the gyanis, and then he says, such different categories of sacrifice by different types of performance only superficially demark varieties of sacrifice. Factually, sacrifice means to satisfy the Supreme Lord Vishnu, who is also known as Yajña. So if somebody is sincerely trying to please the Lord, then he will attain the mercy of the Lord by the Lord's mercy, if he is sincere. Okay, that's what I wanted to say. Now, Tulsi Prabhu will take over from here. Please come.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so what I wanted to say in regard to this verse is that the different sacrifices as described in this chapter, they are meant to help us to develop transcendental knowledge. And in the middle of this chapter, we have maybe around 10-15 verses who are describing the different kind of sacrifices. And at the end, Srila Prabhupada is saying all these sacrifices, they can, their goal can be material prosperity or achievement of transcendental knowledge. And the chapter itself is called Transcendental Knowledge. Chapter 4 of Bhagavad-gītā is called Transcendental Knowledge. So one way to perform yajña, first, the goal of the spiritual life is yajña. We should try to sacrifice our energy, our physical or mental energy, our time, and this yajña will help us to be benefited, or in other words, to get material benefit. But the true goal of yajña is not material benefit. The true goal of yajña is understanding that we are not this body and we are spirit soul. When we come to this understanding, then this is the beginning of the real spiritual life. And at the end of the description of all these different sacrifices, Krishna is saying that the best, the easiest way to get to this transcendental knowledge is surrendering to Guru. If someone surrenders to Guru, serves Guru, and asks him proper questions, very easily he can get the ultimate goal of all yajñas. And these yajñas, they can be yajñas for the satisfaction of demigods, or impersonal yajñas for achievement of the impersonal Brahman, or devotional service. The best way to get result in all these yajñas is to surrender to Guru. This is the shortcut, the short way for achieving success in spiritual life. And in regard to what Pandava Prabhu was reading from Bhaktivedanta Thakur, he was sharing today, earlier in the day, some other interesting quotes from his book, Chaitanya Shikshamrita, where Bhaktivedanta Thakur was explaining that during our advancement in the spiritual life, what we have to do is, even when we are on a transcendental level, like a Vaishnavas, we are trying at some point to go to transcendental level, but still a devotee at the same time is practicing on a transcendental level, or that means we are directly practicing the different angas of bhakti, we are chanting Hare Krishna, we are worshipping the deities, we are reading Bhagavatam, we go to the holy Dham, associate with Vaishnavas. This is directly bhakti. And at the same time, devotees, they are following the moral rules and regulations for their material situation, like according to their varna or ashram, if they are brahmacharis or they are grihastas, if they are brahmanas or they are vaishyas, they are following certain rules for their material part of their life. And these two things, they go together at the same time. And this is, Bhaktivedanta Thakur is saying, this is very steady way of practicing Krishna consciousness, because you have the power of the spiritual process of bhakti, but at the same time, you have the protection of the rules and regulations of the Varnashrama system. They will not, these rules and regulations, they will not allow you to go under the influence of the lower modes, the modes of passion and the modes of ignorance. So in other words, we can safely practice the transcendental process on a transcendental platform, or at least on the platform of goodness. And then our spiritual practice will be very strong and very efficient. And also Bhaktivedanta Thakur, in regard to these others that Pandava Prabhu was speaking, he is describing quite some levels. The level of the Uttama devotees, or transcendentalists who are completely on the transcendental platform. And then we have one level down, the level of the devotees who are practicing Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, or regulated devotional service. Then we have a level of people who are just moralists. They are trying to live theistic moral life. They believe in God, and at the same time, they try to follow some moral rules for human life. And then we have other people who are moralists, but they don't believe in God. They do good things. They try to help others, but actually, if you go and speak with them, they'll tell you, oh no, actually, I don't believe that there is God, that there is some special power. I just believe in good. I'm helping others. And then, of course, we have another level down, which is people who, they are not even on the level to be moral people. So in this way, we have different levels of people. And on each of these levels, there is some idea about dharma, or some kind of religious principles, or some kind of spiritual rules that they are following. Like it can be like a black magic or something like that, but something is there, some kind of idea for spirituality is there. And now Bhaktivedanta Thakur is saying it is very important for each person who is on a certain level slowly to advance to the next level. And he's saying two things are very important when we are doing this, when we are going from one level next up to the next level. The first thing is, first we have to be very nicely situated on our level. That means we have to be very strongly fixed on one level before going to the next. And then the second principle is, when you're going to the next level, first you have to step nicely with one leg, with one foot on the next level, and still staying very strongly with the second foot on the previous level. And only when you are very nicely situated on the next level, you can lift your second foot and put it on the higher level. So in other words, one should do this gradually. Otherwise, Bhaktivedanta Thakur is saying there is the danger of falling back to the previous level. So two rules he is giving. But at the same time, he is saying it is very important to have the idea that we have to advance from one level to the next level. Otherwise, just to stay on one level year after year, life after life, it's again not proper, he's saying. Like, for example, now we are sadhakas, we are trying to practice Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, and we have to establish ourselves very nicely on this level. That means we have to learn to strictly follow the different rules and regulations in regard to bhakti, not only the four regulative principles, but all other rules which are connected with devotional service. We should become very serious in our chanting, means to chant 16 rounds every day, and to chant them nicely, attentively, properly. But when we become situated on this level, we should have desire to go to the next level. What is the next level in our spiritual life? The level which is coming after Vaidhi sadhana bhakti is Raganuga sadhana bhakti, or Bhava bhakti, or in other words, to continue serving Krishna, to continue chanting his holy name, serving the deities, reading Bhagavad-gītā, but not because we have to do it. Well, someone told me and now I know I have to do it. Yeah, my Guru Maharaj, he told me 10 years ago and now I know I have to do it. Or the scriptures, they told me, yeah, because I'm a human being, this is what human beings are doing. They get up early in the morning, take cold shower and chant Hare Krishna. This should be there, this level should be there, but then the level should come when we are doing these things just because we like doing it. This is the next level. It's not because we have to do it, it's because when I do this thing, I feel good. Like, let's say, for someone who is very addicted to some kind of sport, it is not that someone has to go every day to him and tell him, yeah, now it's your time to go and do this sport for 1 to 3 hours. No, he's anticipating the time to come when he can go out and do this sports activity just because he likes it. When he goes there and when he's doing it, he feels happy. So we should be eager and work in order to achieve this level when we can serve Krishna, do the same activities, but do them just because when we are performing them, we experience very high taste. We feel very good. So this is one level up. Sometimes this level can be compared with the level of Madhyama Adhikari, because Madhyama Adhikari, or the devotee who is on the middle stage of advancement in the spiritual life, he has this middle qualification for advancement in spiritual life. He has extremely strong faith. For him, in his mind, there is no doubt, oh, maybe I have to do devotional service, or actually, no, maybe today, the whole day, I should just go out and be in Maya. This doubt does not exist in his mind. His faith is extremely strong. Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita is saying, Shraddha Shabde Vishvasa Kahesh Sudrida Nishchaya Krishna Bhakti Koile Sarva Karma Kritahaya. The faith of this devotee is so strong that he believes, if I simply engage myself in the activities of devotional service, Krishna Bhakti Koile, if I'm just doing bhakti, Sarva Karma Kritahaya, all other engagements that I have to do, all other activities, they'll be automatically performed. Everything else, all other duties that I have, automatically everything will come into place. Why? Just because I'm fully concentrated, fully surrendered to the service of Krishna. So in this way, we should try to be eager once we are strongly situated on one level to go to the next level. In this way, go deeply into the process of devotional service. The deeper we go, the more we will be able to experience taste from our spiritual life. And also, the less we will give attention to the small, petty things, problems that we see in the world and also in the spiritual life. Yes. So the deeper we go into our spiritual life, the less we will see problems in the material world and as well in our spiritual life, in the spiritual organization. The problems will disappear because they will be on the surface of our spiritual life, and we will be somewhere very deep in the ocean of bhakti rasa. So this is something that I was thinking in regard to this verse and also in regard to what we were speaking today with Pandava Prabhu. So now maybe if someone wants to ask Pandava Prabhu questions.
Maybe this.
Johnny, thank you, Johnny.
So if any one of you has a question, you can type it into the chat box, or you could also unmute yourselves by clicking on that little icon in the corner of your screen, the microphone icon, and then you can speak away if you have a microphone.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I have a question.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, I am not a devotee, not a Nephi, I don't know what I am. So the thing is, I got some interest to learn about scripture, learn about Krishna, and to put myself into the devotional service. So every night when I go to bed, I feel like tomorrow morning I will wake up during the Brahma Muhurta and I will chant, I will do Mangalarati, but what happens the next day never comes. So I'm struggling with that. Yeah. So I would like to request you, Prabhu, so give me and guide me and give me some practical suggestions so that at least from tomorrow I can begin. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Well, the most important thing is that you want to do it. This is very nice that you have the desire to do it. To get up early in the best time for spiritual activity, Brahma Muhurta, to chant the holy name, to read scripture. This is very, very important. You have the right desires. And now these desires to mature, to be able to do these things, one important thing is we should try to find the proper association, the proper sangha, because this helps a lot. When we are seeing people who are doing these things, then we become very enthusiastic so that we can also do it. And even sometimes it's very helpful to get together with someone else and to try to do it together. 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, then this will help. So maybe one practical suggestion is just find some of the devotees there who is also eager to do it. And then as much as possible, maybe once in a week or 2 times in a week, you can get together and get up together early and chant together and read scripture together, discuss Bhagavad-gītā, Bhagavatam. And this will give you strength, even when you are alone, to try to continue doing this. Also, another thing that we are seeing helping us very much is if you are able to go to the Dham, to Mayapur, to Vrindavan, there, this is the natural lifestyle. Everybody is getting up very early in the morning. Everybody is going to the temple for Mangal Arati. Everybody is chanting early Hare Krishna. So once you spend there some amount of time, let's say a few weeks, then this gives you a momentum, and then you can go back to your place, and with this momentum you can try to continue this. And generally it works, at least for some period of time. And once we feel again it's a little bit difficult, then again we should find association with the Vaishnavas or go again to the Holy Dham. And in this way, gradually we see it's getting easier and easier for us. So maybe this is something practical. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna.
Haribo.
Haribo.
Yajñaṁ Prabhu ki.
Hare. Nice to see you, Prabhus.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you for the lecture. Yeah, I just had a thought about.
You're in the temple.
Yeah, we just came together to watch in the temple. Actually, there was some arati going on. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Like normally the temple program is this arati and then Bhagavad-gītā. So today we just wanted to do the arati, and so then we thought, let's go to the Bhagavad-gītā class, and because I couldn't go home, so we are here now for the Gita class.
Nice.
This is Bhakta Thomas.
Haribo.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah. And yes.
Yeah, I just have a thought or question or whatever. It's about this. What about this? Because you said, Pandava Prabhu, you explained, like Bhaktivedanta Thakur, he said that if you see something in somebody worshipping some god and you don't understand it, and you just say, it's my god, but I cannot really understand him. Is it correct? Or so I was wondering, does it mean that because then we have so many different religions and so many so how is it that then there is this misconceptions also appear in some religions, or some things which you explained we have to point out this is wrong? Or is it then this religion from our viewpoint was just made up, or is not really given? Or is it how can we explain just from the viewpoint of the history of the religion? Or you understand my question?
I think so. Maybe it started with pure intentions, but then over time it became corrupted. Maybe some of the followers are following sincerely, but some don't. So the point is that we should respect Krishna everywhere we see him, in the heart of all sincere worshippers, no matter which denomination they belong. But at the same time, when we see that what is being preached opposes the pure devotional service, then we should point this out. Maybe we should not go, we should point this out in a proper way. Maybe we should not go in the midst of their gathering and start telling them that they're wrong. But at least for us, for the devotees, for our friends, devotees, etc., we should, whenever we see something opposed to bhakti, this should be pointed out. It should be just like Srila Prabhupada was saying, that his mission is to attack all these rascal theologians, rascal scientists, whatever. So in the same way, we should follow the tradition of our sampradaya. This is our duty. We're duty bound to do this. And at the same time, we should be very respectful to all, because they are spirit souls, and if they sincerely follow their religion, which is not opposed to bhakti, finally Krishna will give them mercy. That's what I understood from these words of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And how this came to do, how this developed historically, why this happened, Krishna explains in Bhagavad-gītā, Sakaleneha Mahata Yogunashta Parantapa, by the power of the eternal time, the knowledge as it is appears to be lost. This is the nature of the pure world. Yeah.
So yeah, practically that's my question. Is it like, because other religions also say this is a word of God, like what is written in the Quran or in the Bible, but then some portions doesn't really match with bhakti, or doesn't really, we cannot really, or sometimes. So is it, what is our opinion, or what is our standpoint about this? Is it like, it's not really, it was interpreted by some people, or it's not, because practically it cannot come from Krishna if it's not really teaching bhakti, isn't it? Or like it's
yeah. If it opposes bhakti, then it cannot be accepted. But these parts that are in line with the Vedas, with the teachings of Bhagavatam, we can accept. The problem there is that because of the lack of disciplic succession, the knowledge was mixed with different materialistic conceptions, and it was very much mixed with the lower modes, and the result is that basically we see the results nowadays in the world, because big percent of what's happening in the world is because of misguided, because people basically lost faith in the religion, because the representatives of all these religions, they could not satisfy the intelligent people, and they turned against all kinds of religion. So that's the unfortunate situation right now. And then they became materialists and atheists, because the priests, they could not answer their intelligent questions in a proper way, and people just became disappointed.
Or there was no good example also.
Yeah, and no good examples. Of course, I'm generalizing now. We cannot generalize. These are vast topics, but basically in Kali Yuga, Bhaktivinoda Thakur explains, even inside the Vedic tradition, all the sampradayas will be merged into our sampradaya. So in Kali Yuga, there is no pure knowledge anywhere, pure spiritual knowledge. And only by the mercy of the Yuga Avatara, Mahaprabhu, there will be spiritual revolution. Otherwise, all the spiritual knowledge, even inside the Vaishnava circles, gradually becomes stagnated. That's the power of Kali Yuga. Krishna gave Kali this power to do this. So.
And then how can we understand? Like sometimes Prabhupada, he said he doesn't want to, if somebody is a Christian or follows another religion, he didn't say, or he said, I don't encourage you to stop following your religion or your scriptures. So how can we understand that?
Yes, because as we said before, if the goal is the love of God, then Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, all will be adjusted by the mercy of God. So Prabhupada, speaking with this particular person, I guess he saw that he's sincere and he sincerely wants to develop a relationship with God, and then he just encouraged him to follow the tradition that he belongs to. And in due course of time, by following this tradition, by performing austerities, he will develop more and more personal relationship with God, and then finally he will come to understand about Krishna. I guess that's the logic.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Haribol.
Something else, dear devotees?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
I have a question. I want to ask, means how can I judge, means progressing in spiritual life, how can I judge that I am ready to progress in the next level? And the second question is, if I'm observing something is blocked, means how can I find out when something is blocking me to progress in the second level, in the coming level? And where can I get help, or who can help me to avoid these habits or whatever is stopping me to progress further in the spiritual life, in the spiritual practice?
Thank you. This is a very nice question. I like that you yourself said, who will help me to do this, to see if you are steady on one level or if something is stopping you to go to the next level. Well, actually, this is the answer. We need a person to help us to judge. Not that we are not judging ourselves. We use our intelligence. We try to analyze ourselves and to see how nicely I am situated on the level that I am at the moment, and if I am ready to go to the next level. But basically, for advancement in spiritual life, it is very important to have a guide. Especially this means to have a guru, spiritual master, who is trying to see the nature of the student, of the disciple, and trying to judge when is the time for him to go to the next level. And also, it's very useful if there is some senior devotee or senior devotees around us, that we have close relationship with them and they know us to some extent. And then also they can give us a good advice if we are properly situated on the level that we are at the moment, or we have to do something to improve ourselves, and when we are ready to go to the next level. The advice of the senior devotees, the advice of the guru are very important in this situation. So basically, we should try to find such kind of devotees that we have faith in, the devotees that are mature enough to give us good advice, what we have to do in order to progress more in our spiritual life.
Prabhuji, one more thing I want to get to know from you. What about, means, this is, we are in a situation where it's very difficult to get proper association, maybe traveling to temples or getting association in my place, in my house. In this virtual thing, or maybe if I am if I am isolated, means how can I progress? Means if I'm not in touch with my gurus, or if I'm not getting association.
Well, yes, this can do the things little bit more difficult, but not impossible. Like now at the moment, we have a virtual connection and we can speak and discuss, and in the same way, at least you can keep a close relationship with few devotees that you feel close to you. And always when you have some serious questions, you can ask them, you can ask for advice, you can ask for help. So even in these difficult times, at least with some devotees, we should keep a steady connection and steady sangha. because it's true now the things are a little bit more difficult, and we have to be careful about our health, about health situation in the world as a whole. But if we have to be careful about our material health, how much we have to be careful about our spiritual health. So if we are taking so many precautions in order to keep our material health, how much more we have to do in order to keep proper spiritual health. So we should try to find a way somehow or other to steadily, week after week, have some association, at least with few devotees that we feel they are steady in their spiritual life, they are knowledgeable, they are well-wishers to us, and they can help us in order to steadily progress in our spiritual life.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
Haribol. Okay, dear devotees.
So thank you very much for this wonderful lecture.
Haribo. Thank you, but dear devotee.
And it was very nice to have you with us. We hope that we will have you with us again soon.
In person.
In person, of course, yes, in person or online. And also thank you to all of you who have joined us tonight. For those of you who have been waiting for the recordings, we will be publishing the recordings in the next days. The last two recordings will be published tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. And today's recording, we have recorded this lecture, will also be published on YouTube, on our YouTube channel, probably Saturday or Sunday. Let's see. And yeah, let's hope that we can see each other again in person soon. Thank you very much, and hope to see you next week. Next week we will have the honor of welcoming Munindra Prabhu with us, who will be speaking about the subsequent verse in the Bhagavad-gītā. So thank you very much, and have a good night. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Gauranga.
Haribol.